Well, hey guys. I'm going to go over number 13, 14, and 15 of your Unit 8 review. Okay? And if time permits, I'll do 16 and 17 as well. So, and then 18 through 21. All right, here we go. Number 13. Okay, it asks you to graph the following. Identify the holes, vertical asymptote, horizontal, your XY, and the domain of each. All right, so before we start, you might want to identify the following. So let's go ahead and find our y-intercept first. Step 1, find your y-intercept. To find your y-intercept, you pretty much set everything here where there's an x equal to 0. So you would have 0 squared minus 9 divided by 2 times 0 squared plus 6 times 0. Okay? Anything divided by 0, you are going to get an undefined. So this one will be error. So therefore, you do not have a y-intercept. Next, we are going to go and find our x-intercept. Our x-intercept is always going to be in the numerator. So here you have x squared minus 9. We're going to set that equal to 0, and we are going to factor. Factors of x squared is x and x. Square root of 9, because this is a minus. This is differences. A perfect square is plus 3 and minus 3. So x is equal to negative 3, and x is equal to positive 3. Set each one of these equal to 0. So you're going to cross the x-axis at negative 3 and positive 3. Okay? Next part, we're going to find our vertical asymptote. I'm just going to write VA for that one. And your vertical asymptote is always going to be in your denominator. So if you look, you have 2x squared plus 6x. We're going to set that equal to 0. Go ahead and factor. You have 2x in common. Factor out 2x. And so you have x plus 3. Set this one equal to 0, or not equal to 0, okay, because it's vertical. So x cannot be 0. And set the other one not equal to 0, and x is negative 3. So there's your vertical asymptote. So at 0, you're going to draw your dashes. Okay? And at negative 3, you'll do the same thing. So this one has two vertical asymptotes. So there's a vertical and a vertical. Next part, we're going to look for the horizontal. Now, the rules through the horizontal is this. I'm going to write the rules down here for you real quickly. Okay? If it is top heavy, you'll know what I mean. There is no horizontal asymptote. If it is balanced, gotta know how to spell balance, right? Balanced, then your coefficient will be your horizontal asymptote, coefficient of your highest degree. Okay? If it is bottom heavy, it's always going to be 0. So let's compare this real quick. Let's look at number 3, your horizontal asymptote. Highest degrees are 2, and highest degrees are 2. So therefore, it is balanced. Since it is balanced, your coefficient is going to be your horizontal asymptote. So y is equal to 1 over 2. Okay? So there's your horizontal asymptote for this one. So you're going to go to 1 over 2, which is 1/2, and we're just going to draw a dash straight across. Try to make it as straight as you can. Obviously, I'm doing a terrible job. Just so. Okay? So there is your horizontal asymptote. All right. So we found our x and our y. See if we have any holes. Now, to figure out if you have a hole or not, this is what you do. Okay? Factor each one of them. X minus 3, x plus 3, divided by 2x, x plus 3. As you can see, those two cancels out. That's the only two that cancels out, so that would be your whole. So x plus 3 equals 0. So x, subtract 3 on both sides, so x cannot be negative 3. So there's your whole. So right here somewhere when we graph it, this is going to be an open circle, okay? All right. Use your calculator to help you graph. Go to y equal, just like that. Type in the original. I want you guys to be very careful when you type this in. Make sure you put parentheses around your numerator and your denominator. If you don't type it correctly, you will not get what you want. So parentheses, x squared minus 9, parentheses, divide, parentheses, 2x squared plus 6x, in parentheses. Go ahead and hit graph so it kind of gives you an idea what your graph looks like. You guys see what your graph looks like? Okay? Now knowing that, you can go to second table and just start plotting some points. Kind of go a little to the left as well. Look at your x value. You have -4, -6. So just kind of plot some points. Okay? At -4, it is a little bit above. So it's going to go right here. How about -6? Even a little higher. This kind of gives you some shape. Okay? 3 is an error. So a -2 will be 1.25. -2 is 1.25 up here. -1 is at 2. Okay. 0 is an error. 1 is at -1. 2 is at -2.5. So that kind of gives you the shape of what this is. Now notice it keeps getting lower and lower, and -8 gets lower. You see how it keeps getting smaller and smaller. So this kind of gives you the shape, okay? So you have a graph going like this. There's one of your graph, all right, that looks like that. And then if I use my table, it's going to go up something like this. See how it looks kind of like that? Except right here you have a circle. There's a hole right there. See the hole? Let me highlight it just so you guys can see. There's that hole right there. There's going to be a hole. And so there's your asymptote right there. And if you look really carefully, let me zoom in for you. Okay, let me see if I can zoom in. Nope. Let me change the window. Let's change it to negative, x is -4, and let's change this to -1. I just want you guys to see 0.5. Okay? Now hit graph. Well, it doesn't show it. Didn't show it like I want it to. How about we try 1? Because at -3, there should be a hole right here. But it's not showing it. What if I change the y value as well? So you can kind of see -1, 2. It doesn't. Maybe I should need to go a little bit more. Okay. But it doesn't show, but there's actually a hole right here. Okay? There you go. Let's zoom 6. Go back to standard. All right. So there you have your graph. Kind of gives you an idea what the graph looks like. Number 14, okay, same thing. Here we go. On 14, I'm actually going to do a lot of this in pencil. Step 1, y-intercept, okay? Set everything equal to 0, so 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. So you have pretty much 0 over 32, so your y-intercept is 0, right there. Step 2, find your x-intercept. Okay, how do you find your x-intercept? It's everything up here. So I'm going to factor out an x. When I do, I have x squared minus 3x minus 4. Go ahead and factor some more. Factors of x squared is x and x. Two numbers that multiply to give you -4, and it's going to subtract to give you -3. Set this one equal to 0. Set this one equal to 0. Set that one equal to 0. And solve. Okay? So you had 0, positive 4, and negative 1. There's your x-intercept. Okay. Sorry about that. I guess I should make my computer less longer. Just a moment. It just went to sleep on me. Alright, that should last a lot longer. Here we go. Let's keep going. Step 3, let's find our vertical asymptote. That will be your denominator. So if you would, what do these guys have in common? I have a 4, so I'm going to factor out a 4. So I have x squared minus 6x plus 8. Keep factoring. Factors of x squared is x and x. Two numbers that multiply to give you 8, and is going to add to give you 6, minus 4, minus 2. This one doesn't have a variable, so I will discard it. Set this one equal to 0. So x cannot be 4. Set this one not equal to 0, so x cannot be 2. Okay? So 2 and 4. So at 2, I will have my vertical, and also at 4, I will have my vertical. All right. So there you have your vertical asymptote. All right. Step 4. Oh, look, this should have been a 4. Sorry, and this should have been a 5. Step 4 is your horizontal asymptote. Let's take a look. Compare the two. You got a 3 and a 2, so it is top heavy, so there is no horizontal asymptote. Number 5, let's see if we have any holes. Okay? Number 5s are for holes. All right. So let's go ahead and we factor the top, and so the numerator, so you have x minus 4, x plus 1, divided by your denominator, 4, x minus 4, x minus 2. All right. Where do you see them cancel? Right there. So your whole is at 4. Okay? So wherever we are right here, there's going to be a hole. Guys ready? Calculator. I'm going to erase all this. Put them in parentheses just like I see it, and type that in. Be very careful. Parentheses. X raised to the third minus 3x squared minus 4x, parentheses, divided by parentheses, 4x squared minus 24x, watch how you type, plus 32. And then I'm going to hit a graph so I have an idea what my graph looks like. So it's going to look something like this. Alrighty. That can kind of help you visualize, okay? Alright. So you can see your asymptote right there. So we're going to hit second table. Let's go over to negative 4. Just keep scrolling. Alright. Negative 8 is negative 1.4, so it's somewhere right here. Negative 6 is almost to negative 1. So right here. Negative 4 is at negative 5. So you're kind of starting to see the shape. Negative 2 is closer. Okay? And how about negative 1 is at 0? Did you see that right there? And 0, 0. And 1 is negative 1.5. It's starting to come down a little bit. So here you have a shape kind of going like this. Approaching, but never crossing. See how it's going toward the asymptote? Let me see if I can do this with a pen. Can you guys see that better? Way over here, okay? And the other side, you see how that other one looks? So let's go. 2, notice there's an error because that's your asymptote. At 3, it will be at 3. 3 and 3. 4, there's an error because there's a hole. 5 is at 2.5. Okay, 7 is almost to 3. And then 8 is at 3. So now you have a graph going like this, but there's a hole here, so there's your hole, and this continues on like this. So there's your hole. and there's your graph. Kind of gives you an idea what the graph looks like. Okay? All right. So there's number 13, and then there's number 14. This part is important. Make sure you know this part. All right. Let's go to number 15. Vertical. Where do I go to look for vertical? You look for the denominator, and you set that equal to 0. So x cannot be negative 7. Horizontal, let's take a look. You see how they're balanced? First power and first power. So this one, the horizontal is y is equal to 2 over 1, which is 2. Make sure you got y equal, okay? Your x-intercept is always your numerator. So 2x plus 5, set that equal to 0. 2x equals negative 5. X is negative 5 over 2. All right? Your y-intercept, pretty much, wherever you see an x, you put a 0 in that place. So now you have 5 over 7 is your y-intercept. All right? And the holes, let's see our holes. Okay. So you have 2x plus 5 divided by x plus 7. There's nothing to cancel out. There's nothing, so there is no holes. Your end behavior, let's take a look at this graph right here. Is this the right graph? You can kind of check. Negative 7, you see the 2, so this is my graph. Here is your left end behavior, here's your right. As x is approaching negative and your right is approaching positive, let's see where y is going. Y is going down, but as it's going down, it's being stopped at 2. See the y at 2? So you're going to stop at 2. Your right behavior is going to the right. As it's going right, it's going up, but it's also being stopped by your horizontal asymptote, which is 2. And there you have number 13, 14, and 15.